Yo, 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 it's your boy LG Spade, and today I'm just a little gloomy day outside. I'm sorry about that, y'all. Um, Today, I'm talking about Nintendo Switch 2 and why it's growing to be one of my favorite consoles right now. So if you like this type of content, please hit the like, subscribe button, all of that. Run up, hit the bell to get notified. Run up the hype, damn, all that, whatever. All right, so first off, all the problems with Sony right now, the no more physical gaming. Um, they had like some type, I forget what it was called, but they had dynamic pricing. Yeah, the dynamic pricing. Um, all these different things with Sony has caused a lot of people to kind of walk away from Sony. They're starting to boycott the no physical, and it's just falling on Sony's head right now. So, my problem is with Sony is like, I have a problem, but I don't have a problem with Sony. So I feel like they're going into the future, whatever, no physical gaming. Because now I talk to a lot of friends and I ask them, like, do y'all even care about the no more physical gaming? Most of them are like, I just download my games anyway. It doesn't matter. So a lot of people, it really doesn't matter. So it's just like the geeks and the nerds and the people who look for like lower price points and collectors and stuff like that mainly do physical on PlayStation. Um, I do physical on Switch because it's an investment. The games kind of keep their price line. Sometimes they go down, understood, but for the most part they keep their price line. Um, for Sony, like a game could come out $59.99 and then give it a month and that shit'll be $20. Um, Probably because they print up a lot of discs and they send them to a lot of places, and then when those discs start getting like overstocked in places, they put it on sale just to get it out. So I feel like that's where Sony's showing you that they make most of their money off of downloads. Like, if y'all retain the same trade-in value for a longer time like Nintendo did on a lot of y'all physical media, I also think you wouldn't be in this position right now anyway. Um, but the thing is, man, Sony was my favorite system. I grew up, first system was a NES. Second system was a Sega Genesis, and after that, I had a PlayStation. Um, I actually didn't get a Super Nintendo until after I already had a PlayStation, because a friend of mine traded me my Sega and a couple games for his Super Nintendo, a handful of games, and a handful of PlayStation games. Because I guess he just wanted a Sega that bad. So we did a trade, and I ended up getting a Super Nintendo, which I fell in love with that for a lot of the RPGs and stuff like that. Um, which brings me to my point today. Um, Now, Sony, I always will have a love for Sony because of the golden era of RPGs. They played a big part in that. From the PS1, the PS2 was probably, like, to me, one of the best systems ever. Had a crazy lineup of games, like probably one of the best systems ever. PS3 is when it started falling off a little bit for me, and that was when Sony got hacked, and I had a PS3 around that time, and when they got hacked, it kind of turned me off about Sony for a while. I really didn't start messing with Sony again until I had a PSP in between, but I really didn't start messing with the consoles again until a PS4, and that was kind of in the middle of the PS4's life cycle. Um, because at first it was kind of rough for PS4, but then they picked it up and everything was looking good, and everything traveled into the release of the PlayStation 5, which I released a PlayStation 5 like a couple weeks to a month after it came out. So with all that being said, like, I bought my first my last Nintendo system I did own was a Super Nintendo. I did not care for the N64. I did not own a GameCube, even though I thought it was a decent little system. The controller was weird, but it was an okay system. I had a Wii for like a split second. I like sold it to somebody. Like, I bought it for super cheap from somebody and sold it to somebody else. I really didn't even play it. Never had a Wii U. And then the Switch. So I ended up getting a Switch Lite. And for the same reason, when I was a kid, I fell in love with the Switch because they had a ton of RPGs, like older school looking RPGs, and some Nintendo titles that I had not played on other systems. Xenoblade Chronicles, the Mario games, all of that stuff. So I kind of fell back in love with Nintendo, but coinciding with my PlayStation, right? Because the PlayStation has always been the bigger graphical like beast when it comes to Nintendo. Nintendo, even the Switch too, like their graphics are PS4 at best. So now the Switch is my favorite system. The graphics are not as great as the PS5. That is one problem I have with the Switch, which isn't even really a crazy problem. But if there's any titles that aren't being released on the Switch for any reason, or a game is like cheaper on PlayStation, I'll definitely buy it over there before I buy it on Switch. Because I do have an issue with the Switch 2 charging more than what the PS5 charges for their games, and the graphics are better over there. For example, Trails Through Daybreak 2, I believe it's like $70 for the Switch 2 version, but you can get it on PS5 for $59.99, and the graphics are way better. So I would definitely save that money and buy it on the PS5. Another example, Echoes of Aincrad, not on the Switch 2, but it's on the PS5, so I had to buy it on the PS5. But for convenience and like just outright fun and stuff like that, I really love my Switch 2. I could easily take it to different areas in the house. I do have a PlayStation Portal, but things seem more accessible and easy with my Switch. And to be honest, like, with Sony ending physical gaming, I'm just believing that the Switch is probably gonna be my system of choice from here on out. Because I could still get physical games, and most of the games that are coming out on other systems are coming out on the Switch. So I love Sony, but they got to figure out the physical media part with them. I don't know if they plan on coming out with a handheld. I remember people was talking about that for a minute. They may be coming out with a handheld that has its own physical media. But I just feel that as of right now, like, will I buy a PS6 if it's just straight download only? Maybe, maybe not. Sony's got to impress me. They got to give me a reason to buy it. Right now is a little bit too early to make that speculation. But right now, Sony, I'm sorry, but the Switch 2 is definitely my favorite console at the moment. But it's your boy, OG Spade, talking about the Switch 2, talking about Sony. Hit that like, subscribe, and the bell to get notified. Run up the hype, all that. Yeah.